Hi everybody, it's Bonkai922. Okay, here to bring you episode 4 of Psychopaths. And please, last week people were trolling me with that review, so please be gentle. Let's not troll Bonkai, please. But episode 4 of Psychopaths. This one was kind of interesting. I believe the title. Hopefully I can find it. Not sure if I can, the actual title of this episode. Usually I don't show you the title on the whatchamacallit. Let's see. Yes. Nobody knows your mask. And funny is, next week's going to be called Nobody Knows Your Face. So it's very interesting. Anyway, beginning of this episode, we have Akane, and she goes into this, apparently this is in the future, so you guys can pretty much guess that with this being the future, sci-fi, you would know that, there are going to be instances where we're going to have like virtual reality and also other stuff. So virtual reality, she's known as Lemonade Candy. Yes, I believe that's what her name's called, Lemonade Candy. And she goes there to talk to this she goes there to talk to this very famous guy known as Talisman. And she's going there to ask him for advice about a coworker of hers. Truth be told, she asks him in a way that she's asking of a different person, of a coworker of hers. So she's, that kind of thing where you ask, like, my friend, And she's actually talking about Kogami. And Talisman is saying to her, basically, let him reveal his true character to you. And that's how to do it. And basically, she's in this world. It's a virtual. It's called Commu Server, I think, a Commu Server area that Talisman owns, that he oversees. Is the overseer of that. And then we get cut from that to her back in her room, and she says, "Oh, know his character," and that's the whole premise of the title page. The title of this episode, "Nobody Knows Your Mask." In other words, nobody knows. Actually, I feel it to be meaning two meanings. One, to Kogami, and two, for this other person that we find out in this episode. And basically, we got all the people. We actually have an interesting moment between Akane, and I'm trying to think. What's his face? What's his name? Masaka. Tomomi Masaoka. He's the guy, the veteran, enforcer. Criminal that they use. And he's talking to her, saying that in order to know Kogami, you would have to think like he does and all this other stuff. And basically, he's telling her, "Oh, you would have to be your psychopath would be very cloudy in order for you to understand him." And that's basically what he's telling her. And it was an interesting situation there, what they were talking about. So, and there was that scene, and then we move on to the actual thing going on in this episode, which is about this guy, Kumihiko Hayama. Now, a funny thing about this episode, the ending had a twist, which was very intriguing. And Hayama was an unemployed 32-year-old guy living in this apartment. And they're investigating it, and Kogami is there, and the rest of the team are there. And Kogami then tells Gino, the chief, is telling him that chances are this is what happened. And he explains to him what had happened was that they probably chopped him up in little pieces. That's previously the whole gist is they chopped him up in little pieces and they pureed him and drained him in the sink. And Akane's like, you all did little chunks after hearing that. So obviously, people killed him in his apartment because he noticed it, because he can touch on the floor of the apartment floor. He felt adhesive, so somebody had put a drape on the floor so the blood wouldn't, so to speak. So, and then they find out something else. They find out that Hayama was an avatar. He was Talisman. And I told you about, her, Akane going in that, the virtual reality and meeting this guy Talisman. He was Talisman. But the gist is that somebody has replaced him. And then basically what ends up happening after that is Gino and Akane go into the virtual reality to confront this person who is impersonating Hayama as Talisman in virtual reality. And they're introduced to the person at what is known as Spooky Boogie. The world that they go into, the commutative commu server that is part of who oversees Spooky Boogie, which is, I believe, and she's an anarchist, but she's the anarchist of, that's her style. It's anarchist of Spooky Boogie. And what happens is Akane gets in a chat with Spooky Boogie, and apparently she knows about Akane. She knows her as, Lemonade Candy, but she also knows her as Akane, part of the, organization she works for. And apparently she tells her that she'll help her. Yeah, Spooky Boogie, which is known as, her real name, Spooky Boogie, is Shoko Shakagawa. And what ends on happening is she says, "Oh yeah, that Spooky Boogie is going to challenge Talisman to a fight." And and she's basically setting this up and everything so that they can uncover him. Later on, they go to a nightclub where everyone is dressed up as their avatars, and they're going to try to confront and arrest this person. Unfortunately for them, though, when they're attempting to arrest this person, there's a guy upstairs who is watching all this, and he's talking to the fake Talisman, fake Hayama, who's not Hayama. I think he called him Mr. Mito. Not 100% sure on that, but I believe that's what he called him. And then what ends on happening is they turn everyone at the place, at the bar, at the nightclub, into Talismans. They all have the same avatar, so they don't know which one is which. And what ends on happening is, I think, Tomomi Masayaka, he, by accident grabs Akane, and they let him go. They couldn't find him. They couldn't get him. So he escapes. After that, there's a thing with them at the station saying that... And oh, I forgot to mention, they were at the station too, discussing the plan of tracking down this guy. Back at Spooky Boogie herself is challenged by Talisman. And Talisman says, you're not fit to be the Avatar Overseer of Spooky Boogie. You're not Spooky Boogie anymore. And then we see a scene where, what's her face? Yeah, Shoko Sugawara, she is confronted by this guy behind her. And this guy is obviously the replacement for Talisman. And he just confronts her and chokes the living shit out of her. Kills her. And then we see a scene, and then when the guy leaves the room, because it was in her apartment, we see the guy from the very beginning, from the very first episode. So, obviously, this was like I don't know if you could call this a foreshadowing. And they're basically saying, oh, he will replace her just like you have replaced Hayama. And then all you see is this blender. Oh my god, that scared the shit out of me. A blender with tomatoes in it, and it's going... And you just see red liquid going around, and it just hits to the credit scene. Also, I forgot to mention, they did go back to the lab, try to hunt down the person who was Talisman. I forgot to mention that. And that's pretty much what happened. Now, this one, I really digged. I actually like this one. This one, it was interesting to see that now we're getting to the thick of things. Now we introduced to the main villain. That was introduced in episode 1. Kind of foreshadowing here. That was like a foreshadowing episode 1. I found anyway. And now we are now introduced to this guy who's obviously the mastermind behind this crime. And probably maybe the other crimes too, we don't know. But he's going to have probably going to be a confrontation between him and Kogami. So, we'll see. I mean, I enjoyed this one. I thought this was pretty good. I give it... 3.5 for now. But it was good. I enjoyed this one. This was very interesting. Whole virtual reality thing. I was wondering, this is a sci-fi anime kind of, and you got to wonder when they bring in that element of virtual reality. And sure enough, they did. So now you got to wonder where it goes from here. But it was gruesome, man. These guys, they're replacing these people, but they're killing them in such a gruesome way. Cut them up into pieces and blur. Oh, it's nasty. It's freaking nasty shit. But anyway, so this is like a foreshadowing of what's to come. This is like, this guy's the main villain. Kogami's probably going to go up against him, and some shit is really going to go down. So, yeah, good episode. Psycho-Pass is really good. Go check it out. It's a real change of pace to the other animes that have come out this season. So, yeah. Good episode. Very gruesome. That's all I have to say. Very gruesome the way they killed those people. Oh, man. Crazy. Blend them and pour them down the sink. Nasty. But that's all I got for you guys. Very good episode of Psycho-Pass. Things to come on the way. So, yeah. Look forward to it. This has been Bonkai 922. I will see you guys